Hub on Hollywood, an iHeartRadio podcast. I'm your co-host, James Rojas.
And I'm Jamie Blanco.
On this week's episode, we have a great interview with a local actor who stars in a new movie filmed right here in Massachusetts, and it is getting great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. An Adam Sandler classic returning to the big screen just in time for its sequel, local casting news, and some really good shows Jamie and I are watching. But speaking of watching, Jamie, have you seen, you must have, I hope you've seen the trailer, the new trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps.
Yes, yeah. It looks Mr. Fantastic, okay? I mean, what else do you need?
Mr. Pedro Pascal.
It looks great. It looks fantastic, yes.
Yeah, this movie and Superman, which, if you're watching the video right now after this podcast, go to our YouTube page. We just posted some behind-the-scenes look at the new Superman movie. So, along with Superman, this is my most anticipated film of this year. They were able to reveal some more plots and details and characters in this trailer. And the first one is, the first standout is we get a really good glimpse or a look at the Silver Surfer. Jamie, what's your knowledge with the Silver Surfer and the canon and comic lore?
Oh gosh, I'm not as much of an expert on the Fantastic Four and all of them. I know that I enjoyed the Silver Surfer. The last time they had a series of movies that introduced him, I really enjoyed that character design and all of that. How are you feeling about it, James? I take it you're more into the Fantastic Four lore and world.
Yeah, the funny thing is, my wife and I watched the trailer at the same time because I said, the new Fantastic Four trailer is out, let's watch it. And so we're watching it, and she's like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, I have no idea about these characters. And I'm like, you don't know the Fantastic Four? She's like, I've heard of them, but I don't know, any of them or what they do.
I know who the characters are and the villains and
my
all
wife,
of that. So.
Yeah, my wife, she would not be able to tell you. But what I can tell you is that, the Silver Surfer, oftentimes portrayed as a man in the comics and in the previous Fantastic Four movie. This one, we have a woman, which is also, it goes back to its roots in comics. So this is comic accurate as well, like a different Silver Surfer. But basically, Silver Surfer works as a planet finder for Galactus, the big bad, the eater of worlds. And so the Silver Surfer has located Earth, and Earth has been marked for death. For Galactus's impending arrival. And so we get a really good look at the Silver Surfer. I think she looks fantastic. Speaking about Mr. Fantastic, we got a good look at Pedro Pascal stretching as well. That's one thing they did not show in the first trailer, but now we do see him stretch jump, which looks good. That, second or two of stretching we saw.
Okay. Yeah, Luffy vibes, right? Do you feel like it looks
this
like
predates
the CGI
Luffy, by the way.
is acceptable? What's that?
Yeah. Now, saying this predates Luffy, so Luffy is taking after Mr. Fantastic. But I think, for the very short period that we saw him stretch and jump, I think it looked good. So I think Marvel is, putting all their top CGI and VFX artists on this. So I think they're going to make it look good. I pray. We also found out in this trailer that Sue Storm is pregnant. This is another thing that has been explored in the comics, and I don't know it too well, like the lore or like the history of it, but I do know that the child of Sue Storm and Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, they are their own superhero with their unique superpower, and so that'd be interesting to see what happens from that or comes of that, whether we'll see the birth or whether that'll be, maybe at the very end, a teaser for the next film or what have you.
So I have a question for you, James. Do you feel like they're giving too much away in the trailers?
Think they might
because that happens a lot.
Yeah, so people are already putting on their thinking caps on and their Inspector Gadget goggles and microscopes to work, because one of the things is that we learned from the trailer is that it looks like Reed Richards' work is what drew Galactus to the Earth. He was saying in there that he's concerned about his actions drawing some unwanted attention. So maybe Reed Richards is doing some scientific experiments, and maybe a signal goes out. It catches the attention of Galactus and the Silver Surfer, which gets them drawn to Earth. There's also some scenes, and I don't want to, I'm going to mention it, but, for those who are trying to go in the Fantastic Four completely blind, pause for or skip for 10 seconds or 15 seconds. But people are theorizing that because Galactus is coming for the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, he's been able to figure out universal, how to go to a different multiverse. Mm-hmm. And so the theory is that the Fantastic Four at the end of the movie will jump into a multiverse, leave their 1960s aesthetic world in order to save it, because they're the reason why Galactus wants to eat the Earth. If they're not there, then Galactus won't eat the Earth. So that's one theory that people are dissecting.
You know what I hope, James? I hope that this is its own standalone thing. I don't really need to see it bleeding into the greater MCU and the multiverse and all of that. I would just love for something to not be a part of that anymore. You know what I mean? To just be its own beautiful thing with its own aesthetic, like you said, and its own little world. I'd really like for that,
Yeah.
So
I hope this is a standalone movie on itself, so you can watch it, on repeat how many times you want, and you don't have to watch something before or after. I will give a spoiler, is that when they announced the cast for Avengers Doomsday, where Robert Downey Jr. is the big bad, and they showed that big long line of casting chairs or seats, and with the names of the actors. Well, we saw the actors who play Johnny Storm, or play The Thing, or play, Pedro Pascal and Sue Storm. They're in those chairs. Their names are there. So they're going to be, I think Doomsday is going to be this multiverse kind of colliding, where all these different variants of superheroes are going to be, coming to one location in time to fight Doomsday.
Can I just imagine that that's not happening?
Yeah, you can imagine it. You don't have to watch any more movies. You can stop watching all the MCU movies, and that'll be the end of it. Right. You could do that. That is always an option. Last few things. We see the Fantastic Car, which is hilariously, seemingly accurate to the comics. We saw Galactus marching down an Earth street with his big feet. Reminded me of a scene of Godzilla, stomping through New York. And I think those are the big takeaways. But yeah, I'm very excited for this film.
All right, and when is it coming out? When can we see it?
That is coming out, let's see, when is Fantastic Four coming out?
Not soon
July
enough.
25th. July 25th, so just around the corner.
Summer blockbuster.
Yeah,
there we go.
Just an arm stretch away.
Just an arm stretch away. Yeah. And Pedro Pascal's everywhere. He's everywhere. We're going to be talking about him in The Last of Us later, too. So, I mean, it's just, we can't get enough of Pedro. I hope he's pacing himself, though, okay? I hope that he's resting and meditating and whatever he needs to do, right? Because the world can't get enough of him, and he just needs to take care of himself, all right?
Yeah, I think actors go through this, many actors. You notice it with, I don't know, just name which actor, but there'll be a series where they're so hot, and they're in every movie for a period of 5 years or something, and then they kind of trickle off. They're still, big stars, they're still doing big movies, but they're spaced out further, they're doing more independent stuff, or not so big and flashy. But this is Pedro's, period to be in everything, and, I used to be annoyed by that, these actors are in everything right now, 3 movies seemingly a year, and these projects. But I'm if you're an actor, make your money, get your work in, get it while it lasts, because that flame will not always burn as brightly as it does right now. So
that's right.
Yeah,
and there are a ton of opportunities for actors in New England to be getting that money coming up, James. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. Was there?
I think that was basically it. We can jump to casting calls.
All right, there we go. Here we go. We're gonna ride that silver surfboard on over the hub.
Absolutely.
Here, James,
to the silver screen.
We're gonna get you that money. Since COVID And since the dual strikes, it's been tough, man. It's been tough being an actor, and a lot of those opportunities that were really popping for a few years have dried up a bit. But it's looking like we're going to have a robust summer, and the casting calls are just starting to pour in. So very excited about that. So without further ado, let's hit it, man. First of all, M. Night Shyamalan is coming to town. He's going to be filming in Rhode Island, a film starring Jake Gyllenhaal. The Rhode Island Film Office just put out a notice about that. And in one of their press releases, they said, hey, you want to be a background extra? You want to help M. Night and Jake Gyllenhaal make something incredible? Reach out to Rhode Island Extras at gmail.com, and they're going to be letting you know what information that they need. Typically, it's your headshot, your resume, your sizes, where you're from, your contact information. RhodeIslandExtras.com for that one, for the Rhode Island filming of the next M. Night Shyamalan movie. Also, A24 is shooting a feature film called Tony, which explores the early life of renowned chef Anthony Bourdain. You know Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, great chef.
So that's pretty exciting. That's going to be taking place from May until early July, mostly in Provincetown and the South Shore of Boston. Boston Casting is handling this one. So you're going to want to sign up for bostoncasting.com to get all their notifications on that. But right now for this project, they're looking for kitchen staff. Regular kitchen staff to appear. They're looking for all men, all ages, open ethnicities, and they want real kitchen staff, like people with real experience who have dynamic, unique personalities. No prior acting experience is necessary for this one. If you are interested, you're going to want to email TonyKitchenCasting@gmail.com. With your name, photo, description of yourself, and your cooking experience. They are very excited to hear about that one. There's also another feature film that Boston Casting is handling. This is actually a half-hour series. Not a feature film. This is a series that is going to be filming in Massachusetts, in areas like Devons, Gloucester, Worcester, Rockport, Groton, like that going to be happening. Groton. I know. Isn't that fun to say?
Groton.
It's going to be about 10 episodes. That's going to be filming from May through August. The storyline here is a mysteriously cursed New England island is led by a mayor who refuses to believe the warnings of its superstitious citizens. You gotta listen. You gotta listen. You gotta. They're looking for SAG folks to be a part of this. Right now they're looking for their small group of core townspeople. These are mostly background roles, so you're going to need to be available for multiple days throughout the duration of filming. If this sounds like you, like I said before, hop onto bostoncasting.com so you can sign up for free, get the notifications, and let them know that you are available for this project. So, James, tons of exciting stuff going on in the filmmaking part, but also apparently in the TV show, in the reality show realm, right?
Yeah, you could say we got a situation going on over here, right?
He did it.
I went there. And we talked about this during the last episode, and I was trying to wrap my brain around the description of the Jersey Shore coming to the shores of Boston. And so it's the original cast, or many of the cast members of the reality TV show, The Jersey Shore. They're in Massachusetts, they're in New Hampshire, filming this kind of, I guess, new series for MTV. And so they stopped in the Granite State just north of us. They went to this restaurant. It's called the Puritan Back Room in Manchester. Apparently this place is known for being the birthplace of chicken tenders.
So I hear.
So you hear?
Yeah.
I'm not the one going to dispute it, but I'll take their word for it. But so Mike the Situation, Nicole Snooki Polizzi, Ronnie Magro, and the crew from the show were at the restaurant this past week filming Jersey Shore Family Vacation.
Okay.
How much... again, kind of like I was saying, the celebrities who are making all these movies like during this hot period, if you can, go for it, I guess, get your paycheck. And so at first I was kind of not annoyed because these guys don't really bother me, but my mind was going, who cares about these guys? Apparently there's enough interest where people do, and if they make money, why not? Just go for it. Everybody needs some money right now. So
all right. But James, look, I'm gonna pick a fight with New Hampshire right now. With Manchester.
Please.
Look, as long as there has been chicken, there must have been chicken tenders. You know what I mean? Like, you put a little breading on it. That can't be something new. That can't be something that the city of Manchester invented. I mean, that's gotta be something we've had for thousands of years. You just
somebody had to invent
it.
Well, get this. Buffalo wings. Buffalo wings weren't, quote, invented, or the style of buffalo wings weren't popularized or invented until, somebody in the city of Buffalo made them, or I don't know that history either. I don't question these things. I don't question chicken history. But yeah, you're right. Somebody should look into this. I think Matt Shearer actually interviewed somebody who's like a chicken tender mayor or ambassador.
Can we get a chicken expert? Can Matt do that? Because
I'll text Matt, and we'll include maybe like a voice message in this pocket.
It just doesn't sound legit to me. That's all. We'll
find out. We'll find out, but I think that's all we need to say about the Jersey Shore. We don't need to go further into this topic, but if you're fans of the cast, they're back. They're coming back, and they're in town. They're in Boston
and all that jazz,
and New Hampshire. So good for that. Speaking about New Hampshire, and a New Hampshire boy, born and raised, is a Mr. Adam Sandler. We of course know that his sequel to Happy Gilmore 2, is coming out in theaters in a couple months, and we saw, a lot of people are very excited when he comes to town. He hires a lot of background actors and makes a lot of money and whatnot. Guess what? He's making even more money from movie theaters because Universal Pictures announced that Happy Gilmore, the original, the first one, is coming back for a theatrical re-release in theaters nationwide, but only for 2 days. Those days being April 27th and the 30th. I don't know why, but 27th and the 30th. If you want to see Happy Gilmore swing away on the big screen, tickets for that re-release are on sale right now. Now, get this, Jamie.
What's up?
I just found out minutes ago on this podcast live that Happy Gilmore is coming out the exact same day, the exact same weekend as Fantastic Four.
Okay.
I think this is terrible. Like why would they come out with that movie not only 30 years later or at all, but also the same weekend as Fantastic Four, one of the most anticipated films of the year. So, I don't know. Good luck. May the victor go the spoils.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Happy Gilmore completed that feat no more than 5 minutes ago. He can do it. He can do it. Anyways, go on. Don't mind me.
No. Well, speaking of victories and the spoils, we are being spoiled by really, really great television right now. Either that's on Disney Plus, HBO Max, or wherever you are. But we are watching right now, Jamie and I. We're watching Daredevil: Born Again. The season finale episode just got posted this week, and I'm halfway through the final episode.
Oh God, don't tell me.
If I could take us back to the rewind machine and go back in time for a little bit. When this series, before it came out, you were saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm no stranger to saying I'm not that excited for many Marvel projects." And you're like, "Well, at least Daredevil's coming out again." And I was very, very lukewarm about it, if not cold, on the idea of going back into the Daredevil world. I enjoy Daredevil, the original series, the original run, and everything, but that wall, I felt like I could not climb over that wall of
wall around
just
your heart.
Around my heart. But guess what? Daredevil broke through that wall, and this is a really, really good season. Like, it looks so good, the story is so good, the action is great. Why can't they do this in movies anymore? But yeah, how are you enjoying the season so far?
I'm just enjoying that I was right. Woo-hoo!
You were right. Kudos. Seriously, no, I'll eat my words. Yeah, it's a really good season, and again, halfway through the final episode, so right after this podcast, I'm gonna finish it. But I'm enjoying everything about this season so far.
I've enjoyed everything about it. Like I said, the very first episode had me and my sister-in-law, we were watching it together, like screaming at the television and like clutching our hearts. And I think, they made very dramatic choices, and it's paying off. And you're bringing back characters that you care about. You're telling stories that fit so seamlessly into the world. And it's gritty, but it has heart. And it's stylistically just, oh my God, you can just gorge on it. I just want more. And I love Charlie Cox to death.
So good.
And everything that he has done, previously with Daredevil and this season. It's just, I mean, I can't sing the praises enough. I am a little bit behind you. I haven't been able to catch up yet. So when it's all said and done, maybe we can do a spoiler review. But I'm curious. Maybe you can say, or maybe you can't say, what your favorite or most surprising thing is about this season.
Surprising? I don't know. I'm impressed. Daredevil is known for having really good fight sequences, fight scenes. So I'm impressed by that. They've reached expectations, if not at times exceeding those expectations, which is great. I love that we have John Bernthal back here as the Punisher. That's not a really big spoiler, just because he was like featured in the promotion and the trailers and whatnot. But his reintroduction as the Punisher is fantastic. He's killing it, no pun intended, or pun intended, for this final episode so much, and it's beautiful. It's music to my ears. And so everybody's doing a great job. The story's really strong too, so maybe that may have been the most surprising thing, is that it has a really solid story that I'm really invested in, with like Fisk becoming the mayor of New York, and now he's bringing in his mob mentality into the workings, the inner workings of governments, the corruption of governments, which, at face value doesn't sound like a stretch, but, he does it in his own Fisk way. So,
and I think they did such an amazing job of, like, making you wonder or even hope that, hey, maybe Fisk is turning over a new leaf. Maybe he is trying to do a good thing.
But deep down,
like the juxtaposition, like the switching of roles, right, from a villain and hero. Who is a villain? Who is a hero? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? That moral grayness, and the swapping of roles, back and forth and back. But I just love it. That's all. So.
I love it too. So if you're not watching Daredevil, if you were kind of like me on the fence and not really eager to get into it, get into it. It gets my full, my 2 thumbs up approval. Watch it right now, Disney Plus. What you should also watch right now, and is much heavier, more realistic, more grounded topic, is the medical healthcare system and the Pitt. Jamie, before I brought it up, did you hear about the Pitt? Because I just recently learned about it, and it's blowing my mind.
I had seen like memes of it. I think people were so into it. There are a million medical dramas, right? But there's something about this that just seems a little bit different that people are excited about. So I've seen like clips, I've seen like bits and pieces that people seem to be really excited about. But tell me what hooked you?
So I was sick this past week, and so I was like, at home on the couch, for hours on end, and so I figured, let me just start watching stuff. Let me get to actual shows and movies I've been wanting to watch, and I have not had the time to. So I saw something about The Pitt getting really good reviews, and I was like, oh, and I'm watching random shows too, and so some of that are not so good, but I'm happy I'm just watching them. But I decided, you know what, medical drama. I hear it's good stuff. I hear it's pretty realistic. Let me just pop it on. Each episode's about an hour, and maybe the first 10, 15 minutes, I was like, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be into this, because they get really into the nitty gritty of like medical procedure, and it takes place in an ER, an emergency room in Pittsburgh, and eventually, like, I just got hooked by the characters, by the scene, by the setting. Basically, it's an HBO medical drama. It's very popular right now, especially among those in the healthcare industry, because it's being described as the most accurate medical drama of all time, with like compelling depictions of the medical practices. The story it follows the daily lives of healthcare professionals in a Pittsburgh hospital referred to as the Pitt. And as employees juggle personal crises, workplace politics, and the emotional toll of treating critical patients, it reveals the resiliency required for this noble calling. And it's so interesting, because I wasn't a big fan of the ER. Some people have said this is like an ER reboot. So much so that there's actually a lawsuit going on, but that's a whole different discussion going on. Yeah, but it's really gripping. Like a lot of the medical jargon is going straight over my head, but you're following the story, you're following the emotion of all these characters, and you're getting really invested very quickly. And one thing that really actually got me more invested in this is, again, the medical community. They're talking about this. I'm not sure if you know about this doctor on YouTube, Dr. Mike, very popular. He has like 13 million subscribers, and he reacts to a lot of like movies or TV shows, like medical emergencies, and he says, oh, this is realistic, or this would never happen, or he kind of dissects things, pun intended. And he's been going through like each episode, like episode 1, 2, 3, and like he's describing, like he's watching it, he's describing things as he's watching the episode, and he's like calling things left and right, or like they would do this in this situation, and then they do it, or he uses this jargon, and then they use it, and vice versa. So it seems very accurate, and it seems like the medical industry really appreciates it, and I love how this is formatted, because this is I believe a 13-episode season, and each episode is 1 hour of one day shift in the ER. So it begins like at 7 a.m., and so that's the first episode, 7 to 8, and then 8 to 9 is the second, and so on and so on. And so it's one continuous day of crazy emergencies in the emergency room. People get brought in with a gunshot wound, with a nail gun to their head or heart, or somebody burned their hand, and there are things that are so minimal to obviously like emergency room level life and death situations. It's a very gripping show. It's basically what I'm trying to say. If you, like myself, are not into medical dramas, I thought I wasn't into it. This one I think would be worth your time and would get you hooked into that. So I recommend The Pitt. And
you could probably learn something too by watching it. That sounds really, really cool. I hate watching medical shows where it's just overly dramatic, and it's completely inaccurate, and I can't really get into it. So that's good to hear about The Pitt. And James, there's one other show that people need to glue themselves to the couch for, that we have been watching. As you mentioned, just a glut of great television being rained upon us right now, which is fantastic when you need distractions. The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1 is up. You watched
Episode 1's up. Yeah, I watched episode 1 day after it came out. Like I said, I was sick, so I decided to watch everything. Yeah. And so, perfect timing. But episode 1, it's a really good start to the season. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but we can give like a kind of synopsis of where we are from the first season. So episode 1 is Future Days. This takes place half a decade following the events in Salt Lake City. Ellie is 19 years old now. She's encountering new threats, new kind of infected, while Joel is seeking to mend his relationship with Ellie. And this opens up with showing the character Abby and the rest of the surviving Fireflies right after the rampage that Joel went on to save Ellie. They're burying their dead, they're mourning their dead, and this character Abby basically saying she's hell-bent on exacting revenge on Joel for, killing everybody at their compound to save Ellie, and pretty much, them regrouping to go to Seattle with the rest of the other Firefly branches. Mm-hmm. And then it picks up 5 years later in Wyoming, where there's a settlement. Joel and Ellie, that's where they go to find refuge. The settlement has become more sustainable. They're really flourishing, and at the same time, because of that success, they're actually kind of letting their guard down. And so that's where that's where the scene is being set right now.
Right.
But how did you think about the first episode back?
I thought it was you've got that vibe, right? You've got the I just love seeing Pedro Pascal back as Joel. You've got Bella Ramsey back as Ellie, and that dynamic and that relationship and that tension is done so well, right? Because if you had watched the end of the last season, you know that Joel, he damned the entire world and slaughtered the Fireflies just to save her, and then he lied about it, right? And so it's not clear whether she knows or doesn't know about the lie yet, but there's this tension and this anger and this frustration between them, which is also very much like, teenage child and father, which is sort of the dynamic that they have anyway. But what I really enjoy, James, is that so far it looks like it's staying mostly true to the video game with just some minor changes, including Catherine O'Hara, who joins and plays a character who's a therapist.
That was great to see.
Yeah,
I was surprised by her, and she kills it as this therapist, psychotherapist,
mm-hmm.
at the compound where she's asking Joel to she knows that there's this tense relationship between him and Ellie now, and she knows Joel is hiding something, and she asks him did you do something to Ellie? And he says yes. And he's like, did you hurt her? He says no, I saved her. And so he's right. trying to justify his rampage, killing so many people to save her, and also, again, potentially dooming the world, because we don't know for sure if that there would be a cure through her blood, but from the first season.
Yeah.
But her performance and her grief and her loss and her anger really, really shined. And so Catherine O'Hara, mwah. Beautiful addition to this world.
I love her in everything. And we are in for adventure and pain this season. My goodness, the tension is there. We know that the hurt is coming. Bella Ramsey too was just a freaking standout. We feel her pain so viscerally. The dynamics between her and Joel center stage, and you just can't help but be drawn into it. And Joel and everyone around him are going to be grappling with the consequences of his actions, and there's just a delicious anticipation there. So very much looking forward to continuing to watch more of The Last of Us. We see at the end of the first episode, the horde is coming, so let's see what happens from there. So
very excited. Yeah, the new episode comes out Mondays, so I believe every Monday, new episode. Or Sunday, new episode. So I'll be glued to my Sunday.
Exactly.
I can't wait for that.
And James, speaking of something that is highly rated, well received, well reviewed, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's awesome.
A locally created film movie called Eephus. All local cast, filmed here. It just wrapped up its theatrical run, is going to be available on streaming, and we talked with one of the stars of that film, Russ Gannon from Needham, local actor who worked his way up from background to, a lead in a film that's getting so much critical acclaim. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is nothing to sneeze at.
Mm-mm.
We were lucky enough to have Russ on the show. And without further ado, here's my interview with Russ Gannon. And I am joined by a fantastic actor from Needham, Massachusetts, Russell Gannon. Russell is promoting an exciting movie called Eephus. Is that right?
That is
Uh,
correct.
Great, which just had its theatrical run and will be available soon on streaming. Russell, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, before we get started on Eephus, because there's a lot of meat there, tell me a little bit about how you got started. I understand you were a radio man, and then you got bit by the acting bug.
I was a student at Emerson, graduated with a degree in radio communications with a minor in comedy writing. And
Oh,
at the time, I was working for WRKO Radio as one of the producers on the Jerry Williams talk show. Also trying my hand at stand-up and also trying to be a writer. I was a writer for the Boston Phoenix and the Boston Herald, and it was all music related. I
mm,
was as far away from the acting world as can be, and stayed in the music industry for a number of years. I was a traffic reporter on WBZ here in Boston, and then managed a record store in Harvard Square for a number of years. And somewhere around 2003, when the whole music industry sort of collapsed,
yeah.
I had a friend of mine ask me if I was still interested in being on the air. And so I got a job at 92.5 The River, and I was a DJ for a couple of years back on the air, and I was really bored. The industry had changed, and I found myself looking for something else to do. So I saw an ad on Craigslist to be an extra
Mm,
on the game plan with The Rock, and that was fall of 2006. And first day of filming, 800 extras. Somebody from wardrobe tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You're a coach today."
all
And I'm
right.
like, and now I'm on the field. And at lunchtime, I'm throwing a football on the 50-yard line with another extra. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this
Yeah.
for a living. And I just sort of picked everyone's brain, like, can you make a living doing this? What is the union? What's SAG? I had no idea what anything was. Um, and then I just started doing background on Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, 27 Dresses, The Proposal, all the rom-com stuff that was shooting in and around the Boston area at the time. And I wound up getting my way into the Screen Actors Guild in 2008. I had earned my way in through background work, joined AFTRA in 2009, and then ran for the local board for New England, and was voted in 2011. Merge was 2012, and I just sort of stayed active in the union while also trying to learn how to act. Now I'm a union actor who had never acted before.
Mm.
So I
And then you got your
really,
big break. Is that right?
yeah. So in 2013, I got a role in a Lifetime movie called Sins of the Preacher, which was shot by John Stimson. He shoots a lot of Lifetime and Hallmark movies in the Boston area, and he had auditioned me to play the role of the church deacon, and I ended up getting that. And a couple of years later, I got a role in a Chinese television show called Wonderful Life, where I played a lawyer. Um,
Oh, interesting.
and then even during COVID, I discovered how to build a studio and do voiceover work. I had done some voiceover work for the TV show Frontline on PBS. But so I built this studio that I'm sitting in now, and I started working on animated voice projects. My daughter at the time was going to RIT in Rochester, studying 3D animation, so I started doing animated voice work. I had some help from the animated voiceover committee for SAG. This woman, Laura Jill Miller, who does voices for Nickelodeon, helped me to design and build this studio. I'm forever
Wow.
grateful for her her help in doing that. Um, And yeah, coming out of COVID, I wound up on Dexter New Blood for 5 months as Clancy Brown's stand-in. And I continued to try to work as much as possible. I landed roles in Boston Strangler and American Fiction, both of which wound up on the cutting room floor. But
I hate when that happens.
it's like, oh, you're so
But
close.
it's still experience, right? And it's still
It
on your
is.
resume.
It
And
is.
so I just want to back up a little bit
Sure.
because you talked about going from background to eventually getting that big break and having lines on an actual TV show. So I kind of, or rather a film, I wanted to ask you kind of about the pressure of that, the transition of that. How is it going from background, which is what I do as well? I feel like we have a little bit of a similar trajectory. I came from
Sure.
radio, and after SAG-AFTRA merged, I started doing background work, completely fell in love with it. But I am a chicken, Russell. I'm going to admit that to everyone in the world here. I am terrified of getting in front of the camera, having lines, having that pressure on you. So, can you talk about a little bit about that transition and preparing to actually, be the
Yeah.
guy in front of the camera saying the lines?
Yeah, I'm with you. When I started doing this, I was terrified. When I started in radio, I had a horrible fear of public speaking. It took a long time. I was
Yeah.
doing an Irish show on WERS at Emerson, and that
Mm-hmm.
helped me get over my fear of speaking. But getting into an audition room with lines, I was shaking. I would go in and I would shake. And there's nothing worse than seeing somebody who is just does not have that confidence going into a room to do something that you just need all this confidence to do. And I just couldn't do it. I was in SAG. That was the thing. I joined SAG before I had really taken any acting classes. So there wasn't a lot of non-union stuff you could do to help get over those nerves. And so my fear of getting in the room was just getting in the way of everything. And I had spoken to someone. I said, how do you get experience? You're
Mm-hmm.
union. How do you get experience? And they're like, well, you're limited really to student films. I'm like, what? What's that? Like, what do you mean student films? And they're like, yeah, all these colleges around Boston, BU and Emerson and Mass Art and Leslie and even BC, Northeastern, Harvard, they all have film programs and they're always looking for actors and they can sign you under the student film agreement. This was before the micro budget contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, great, let's get all our nerves and all of that practice with students who are also learning and practicing. And so
Yeah.
all that work of forgetting your lines, auditioning and being a complete wreck, I'm doing it with students that are nervous, that are also worried that they're not prepared. And so I was able to kind of work with some filmmakers and we kind of learned together. And when I did get this role, my biggest fear was I'm going to forget my lines. And it was a good 2.5 minute scene. And we did it a lot. And I had those lines down. I had those lines down. And one take, gone. Completely forgot my lines. Just staring at everyone like, I don't know where the lines went. And John came over. He's like, that's all right, cut. Give Russ a script. Give him a couple minutes to look it over. Let's just start again. And it wasn't as big a deal as it was in my head that you're the one that's screwing up everything. And everybody is terrified of doing that. And so, that was the experience I needed to kind of get over that and improv classes helped me immensely as well. When I was at Emerson, I was in Emerson Comedy Workshop, but I was not a fan of improv at all.
Mm.
Improv gives you the freedom to mess a line up and keep going and just sometimes it's not even the lines. It's just knowing your character and just saying stuff and, getting through that. If you know the character and you know what that character might say, it just flows and it feels so natural. And then they can yell cut and they're like, you weren't even close to the, but we like what you did. And I find it so freeing sometimes to try. That was the other thing. I had a fear of not getting the lines 100% correct,
Mm,
which you also have to leave behind because there's nothing worse than looking like an actor who's trying to remember a line on
right.
camera. You know it, and you're not present with the reader, with anyone in the room because you're like, is that line? It's what is it? And it comes across on screen. So know the character, know that. Lots of practice. Just put a camera in your room and just read stuff. Memorize whenever possible. That's your muscle that you have to keep working. But people screw up all the time. Big actors.
They
And
do.
yeah, and you gotta get out of your head. That's where we get stuck all the time.
Right. So and now do you feel like you're in a place of like more confidence going in and knowing that you have that little bit of flexibility? I think some of the greatest lines that come out of movies are when actors sort of just go off the riff, like they riff or they come up with something or they forgot their line, so they said something else and they're like, wow, that works because it was in
Yeah.
character, even though it wasn't exactly what you were supposed to say. So I just think that's fascinating and a great point that I feel like we haven't heard enough about the student films also. There are so many programs here in Boston, so that's a really great resource for people who are trying to get into it. With that being said,
Yes.
all that being said, Russell, let's talk about Eephus.
Yes.
What is it about, and how did you get involved?
So Eephus takes its name from a type of baseball pitch, a very slow curveball that was immortalized by Boston Red Sox pitcher Bill Lee in the 1975 World Series. In Game 7, he threw an Eephus pitch that was hit out of the park, and as he says, it is still going.
Mhm.
The Red Sox lost the 1975 World Series to the Reds. Bill Lee has always been associated with the Eephus pitch, although it goes back to the early 20s. It's a very high arching pitch that's
Mhm.
thrown very slowly like that.
Okay, yeah.
And the film is sort of an analogy of time passing you by, in that you don't really realize that time has passed you by until it's passed you by. And so this is a film that takes place in the early 90s. It is the last game played on a baseball field shot in Douglas, Massachusetts. And we're playing this game for the last time before they bulldoze the field and turn it into a school. The engineer in charge of the project is a one of the characters in the film, Graham, the coach of the River Dogs, who I play second baseman Bill Belinda on the River Dogs. There's some animosity between the two teams because they realize this is the last game ever played, and so the game itself takes place over the course of one day, same location, starts in the morning, ends at night. There is no star. There is no third act. There is no climax. It is literally a slice of life film. And it's it's very moving. It's funny. The characters are so real and lived in that you would swear you just picked 22 guys off the street and said,
Mm.
just be yourselves and just
Yeah.
play that. It's all scripted. There's a little improv in there. It feels like it's all improv. It's just so natural the way it goes. But it's really, as director Carson Lund calls it, a tribute to the third space. There's home, there's work, and there's a third space where you go to be with your friends, where you go and just find a place that's not work or home. And those places are disappearing. That third space that we used to really enjoy, whether it was golf, bowling, baseball, anything that people would get together. And this is pre-cell phone, so there's no distraction in the dugout. People are having conversations. And what's great about the film too is the way the sound is mixed, is that there are conversations happening all throughout the theater, and you'd swear somebody's talking in the
And
corner of the theater, but it's the baseball players on second base are having a conversation, and then there's the action in front. So the movie's great. I got involved with it. I found an ad on Backstage, which of course is a great resource for actors to find films, whether it be student films, voiceover, even feature films. And so in May of 2021, I auditioned for the role of Bill Belinda. I was cast a few months later. I was one of the last. It was actually May of 2022. They had cast most of the film in 2021. And then we're just trying to come up with funding in May of 2022. I auditioned. We started shooting in October of 2022. And it was in this field called Soldiers Field in Douglas, Mass., which has history. Boston Red Sox and the Yankees played an exhibition game there in the mid 40s. And so it has the history and it feels like an old field. And so we shot for about 25 days in that October. And it was fun. We all played baseball. We practiced, we'd stretch, and we really got to know each other as two teams playing one final game.
so that brings me to my next question was what was it like becoming this character and what sort of physical preparation did you need to do to be this baseball player?
Sure. The last time I played baseball, I played Little League in Needham. I played when I was at WRKO, I played in the advertising softball league. We would play over in Brighton by the bus stop pub. We'd all on Western Ave. We'd go over, we'd play softball, all the radio stations and some of the ad firms. And so I haven't played since 1991. So that's the first thing. It's like, blowing the dust off the glove, finding, cleats that fit. And so we spent a couple weeks just doing the fundamentals, hitting the ball, fielding the ball, getting used to running, and we all got hurt. We all just, no matter how much we'd stretch, we just move to the side and we'd feel a pop. And we'd be like, okay, that's not moving for the rest of the shoot. And that's and my character is worse than I am actually in real life, which was a challenge. My biggest challenge was not being a good ball player.
Yeah.
Which ruined some takes. There was a
Because
take
you were
where
too good.
I couldn't let this ball go by me, and I had to make this diving stop, and Carson's like, "Oh, Russ, you got to let that ball go through. We can't go on until that." So I strike out. I get hit by a pitch. I walk. I'm an awful player. And in the film, my family is there watching me. I'm the only one whose family is there, and they're watching me. And every time I'm so enthusiastic, like this time I'm getting a hit. And I don't get a hit. This time I'll get a hit. And they're like, we want to go home. I'm like, no. This time I'm getting a hit.
And, sounds like when I played softball in Little League. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, that was the challenge for me was having to play below my ability. But
And who is your character? What's his name?
Yeah, Bill Belinda. So he's the second baseman for the River Dogs. We play a team called Adler Paints. It doesn't really matter which team wins. That's what you see these baseball movies where it comes down to this like slow motion, like, okay, here it comes. Here's the winning run. And it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter who wins this game. It's just they have to play it to completion. And so I'm Bill Belinda. And my wife, Linda Belinda, is there as well, and my two kids, and I'm just this happy-go-lucky guy that likes playing baseball.
I love it. And this film is Eephus. It's getting great reviews. One reviewer called it the best baseball movie since Moneyball. And how does that make you feel, like seeing the just overall very, very positive reviews for it? Positive
Yeah,
reception.
it's a little surreal. I woke up this morning to a text from a friend of mine in LA that sent me Rotten Tomatoes best films of 2025, and Eephus is number one.
You,
And we're
wow.
and we're like,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's got 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It when we so we saw the film for the first time last year, last May or last April. First time in 18 months we
Hmm.
saw the film, and we were blown away. Like we left the theater like, what? What did we just watch? This film is amazing. How did we make this movie? Like, it didn't feel like we were making this movie when we were making it. And then we found out we got into the Cannes Film Festival in the director's fortnight, and we were having our premiere in France. So
Wow.
60 cast and crew flew to France to see this film in a sold out auditorium, right next to the Carlton Hotel where Alfred Hitchcock had shot To Catch a Thief with Cary Grant. And our film is playing next door. So,
Right.
and then we come out of the theater and we're on a rooftop watching the sunset over the Mediterranean. We're like, this isn't what we do. We were background. I'm background in Mall Cop. What am I doing in France?
Right.
So, um, and so the response has been amazing. We went down to New York last October. We played a promotional baseball game on the Lower East Side that was visited by fans, by the press, and we had a great fun game that almost mirrored the film itself, where another team wanted to use the field. We were over our time. And then we went to the New York Film Festival for its premiere at Lincoln Center. They had moved the film to the Alice Tully Hall, which is the largest hall they have because of all the people that had requested tickets to see the film. So we're incredibly proud of the film. We're blown away at the response that we've got from it. Fans coming up to us, people that are tweeting about it, just random best ofs that it's in with. Like I saw something that said, Black Bag, Eephus. Like what? How are we lumped in with a Steven Soderbergh movie? Like it's hard to feel to like wrap our heads around it a little bit. Um, but at the same time, we're really proud of the film and we really want everybody to see it. And so, yeah, it's been in limited release for about 5 weeks. It's finishing up in Somerville, and then it starts streaming. Today is tax day, the 15th of April. And so it's starting to stream on Apple TV, pay-per-view, and Fandango. And so, but we got it in 180 something theaters nationwide, playing
That's
from
amazing.
Anchorage, Alaska, down to all down the West Coast, up in Montana, Michigan, Florida. Like it was playing everywhere, and people were requesting it. Theaters were calling Music Box Films, who's our distributor, and then saying, we want the film to play in our town. And so, yeah, so now you can see it. Now, if you've got Apple TV or you've got Fandango, you can see
That
the
is fantastic. It's like it feels like a Cinderella story. Like, as a fellow background actor, it's like, wow, it's possible. You can
It
do
is, it is, and
it.
the people on set, like I only knew three of the people, and I'd met them all through background work. I
Mhm.
like the kid Chris Goodwin who plays our catcher, played my son in an Emerson film like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
David Pridemore, who plays Troy, our pitcher, he and I were in background. We met on the game plan, I think, and we've been doing background work for years.
Yeah, and we've
Um,
had David Pridemore on The Hub on Hollywood as well. So it's really exciting to see all of our local folks doing so well, and 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Nothing to sneeze at. That is such an accomplishment, and exciting to see how many people requested this film. And I'm gonna go watch it now when we're
awesome.
done
Yeah.
when we're done talking today. So I just wanted to sort of wrap up this conversation a little bit on that vein. Like, what's it like being an actor in New England, and do you feel that the opportunities are there? And I think you've talked about this trajectory that, there is a path.
There is. I think, we're in a downward period right now. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
A combination of the strikes, the end of peak TV, the shooting in Canada, in Vancouver, Toronto, big movie hubs right now. There's not a lot of work unless you look for it. And I think that as an actor, you really have to look at everything. We all want to be in a feature film, and we want those feature films to shoot in Boston, and we want them to be nice roles that we can audition for and feel like we're we have a shot at them, that they're not precast in New York and LA, that we have a shot at them. So what happens when that work's not here? Well, people are still making films. I mean, I was at the Boston International Film Festival on Saturday to see a film that we shot a couple months ago called Fletcher's Five. It was written locally, shot locally, produced locally, premiered locally, and yet it's a really fun heist film that we shot. These are the opportunities that you have to look for, and whether it be a student film, whether it be something you write yourself, whether it's you and friends are writing something, you just want to shoot it, an actor has to work. You have to just keep looking for those opportunities. And I think that Boston has had a lot of opportunity, especially since the film tax credit went into place. And we've been very fortunate to have a dozen or so movies or TV shows shooting here every year. But if that starts drying up, it doesn't mean that the work can't be found. You just have to dig a little deeper. You have to find it. And as I said at the top, student films are a great way to practice, whether you need footage for your reel, whether you just want to practice in front of the camera, and those are all, there's constant work. I'm shooting a student film tomorrow.
Right.
And I'm never at that point where I feel like they're beneath me. I'm done with student films. No, I love working on them. Some of them are really creative and
Right.
They're thinking outside the box. Don't forget, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a student film. It started as a student film. La La Land started as a student thesis film at Harvard. These films are using local actors to do thesis work, and then they go off to Hollywood and they're like, I want that guy.
Right.
This guy, Cliff Blake, who's in Eephus, has been working with Carson Lund since he was a student at Emerson almost 14 years ago. And he loves working with him. And this is the 6th film he's done with Carson. So
That is amazing. So Russell, where can people find you, follow you, support you, and what can we look ahead for what are you working on next, if you can talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, X, Russ Gannon, Gannon Russ. RussGannon.com is my official website. I have all my links on there, clips and how to get in touch with me if anybody wants to get in touch with me. So RussGannon.com. I have a film that is in post-production right now called Everything's Fine. That I play a therapist. And we shot a lot of that last year. That is coming out hopefully in the next couple of months or so. We're still doing some last minute ADR work on it, but I have that. I do a podcast called Twisted Tales of Madness and Horror Present. I just finished my 11th episode where I get to play around with fun voices. It's a very adult horror themed language is
Nice.
it's very freeing to have a script that's loaded with
Yeah.
profanity. And
It sounds fun.
It is, yeah. And like I said, Fletcher's 5 just came out. I'm assuming that will be on some platforms at some point. That just premiered on Saturday, and otherwise, I'm just looking for my next project. So any filmmaker that's out there that enjoys my work, you know how to reach me.
Exactly. Nice pitch. I like that.
Thank you.
Russell Gannon, thank you so much for joining us here on the Hub on Hollywood. I feel like we can keep talking and keep talking. We're going to have you back on at some point. Congratulations again on the success of Eephus. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And a big thank you again to Russ for coming on the Hub on Hollywood, talking about Eephus and his career and the future projects he's working on. So thank you again. If you are out there working in New England in the film industry, you're a filmmaker, you're an actor, any position in the whole filmmaking process, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you, have you on the podcast, and talk about what's it like being a filmmaker in Massachusetts and in New England. So reach out to us. You can find us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Hub on Hollywood. You can follow Jamie on Twitter, Instagram, myself on Blue Sky. So do not hesitate. And do not hesitate to subscribe and like this episode. As we mentioned last week, Jamie, we broke the 400 subscriber mark. We're like over 420 subscribers. Yep. So thanks so much for those of you joining the Hub on Hollywood Army and just, again, joining in on the conversation and sharing your passion for the film industry, TV, entertainment, and all that stuff. So we really appreciate you joining us on this podcast.
Thank you so much, and I hope we get to have Russ back on. We've had producers, we've had makeup people, like anybody who's a part of that world. We want to talk to you. Like James said, I really want some stunt guys. Are you a stunt guy listening now, or woman?
Speaking about Matt Shearer, he's I'm gonna have to follow touch base with him again, but he's actually working. I don't want to spoil his story. He's working on a story for WBZ, but he's gonna be talking to a stunt performer, stunt man.
Hey, send him over. Send him over, man.
And there may be some crazy stuff going on, so we'll circle back to that. We'll put a pin in that. But yeah, if you're a stunt person working inside Massachusetts or New England, reach out to us. We want you on the show.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we talked about a lot, James. We covered a lot of ground. We talked a lot about New England films and movies and TV shows. More to come. Very excited about the opportunities that are coming this spring and summer. Subscribe, like and share, and we'll see you next week. And until then, I'm Jamie.
I'm James.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.